This is a brief introduction to SALI, the Standards Advancement for the Legal Industry. SALI is a nonprofit that standardizes legal data to benefit data science initiatives and AI. To be able to get analytic insights, you need to be able to extract data to be able to provide those insights. And our three SALI stakeholders are clients, corporations, firms, law firms, and other service providers, and vendors who are providing services to both clients and law firms. All three of these need insights. For example, clients want to know which of the firms and service providers are the best fit for my particular legal matter. And of course, law firms want to say, of course, we are the best fit for you, client. And of course, vendors want to provide applications to be able to help both of these use cases. So for example, clients want to know which of my law firms or legal service providers have experience in this particular area of law, and which have provided this result, and which provider has provided documents at this cost, and what's the cost if it's in jurisdiction X? And of course, if I'm in litigation in jurisdiction X, what is the risk of litigation? Each of the things in blue is a SALI field. SALI is counting areas of law. SALI is counting documents. SALI is counting jurisdictions to be able to enable these kind of analytic insights. And of course, on the firm side, you want to be able to say, yes, client, we're the best at this area because we've done this number of matters in this area of law. And of those, this number were in this jurisdiction, and we achieved this result, say summary judgment or motion to dismiss in these areas. And of course, as a law firm, you also want to know business development-wise, what other law firms are doing this area of law, and what are the competitors that this client also hires. Of course, on the vendor side, we're providing applications, e-billing and research, and e-discovery and legal project management. All of these things are fueled by SALI, or at least they can be. And so when you think about lawyers doing legal work, really there is data exhaust, an idea of data exhaust that the work that I'm doing can actually provide good data that can be mined using SALI fields. For example, one of the types of matters is shoplifting. And you can say that has a SALI tag. That is a criminal matter. The area of law is criminal law. And the service that's being provided is a dispute, D, that is a criminal dispute, CCR. So this is a shoplifting criminal matter, can be tagged up accordingly. Of course, documents also can have data exhaust. So for example, this is a merger and acquisition agreement for the service type transactional work. That is M&A. That is that type of transaction. And of course, timekeeping also has data exhaust. You could say that this type of matter that you see on your screen here is an intellectual property matter. That is a patent matter. That the service being provided is a dispute. That is a civil dispute. So you can imagine that you could tag up each of your matters at the matter level. But SALI doesn't stop there. With version 2, we are now going even deeper to say directors and officers is mentioned in this document. Therefore, you can tag up directors and officers using the SALI tag for directors and officers, and exchange agent, and corporate organization, and broker's fees, etc. And of course, on the timekeeping side, depositions is a tag in version 2. Contracts is a tag. Affidavit is a tag. Statement of undisputed facts is a tag. Summary judgment brief is a tag. Each of these things can also be tagged up. So if you're doing analytics of matters or documents or timekeeping, by tagging up using standardized SALI codes, you can be able to provide better insights. So if you say, show me all of one of the ways that you could say is, what is the area of law involved? I can say, I am a patent lawyer. That is the patent area of law. But we know that as a patent lawyer, you can do two types of things. You can prosecute patents to be able to say, file it with the Patent and Trademark Office, or you can litigate patents. So at SALI, we've separated areas of law from the service I provide. I'm not a prosecutor of patents. I'm a litigator of patents. And then for whom do I litigate patents? Well, for this particular matter, I'm litigating in favor of a computer and high-tech client. What industry is my client? Computer and high-tech industry. And what role is that computer and high-tech industry playing right now? Today, they are a defendant. And so each of the things that I've just described is a SALI field. So you can run a query saying, show me all the areas where there's a patent dispute, where we represent a computer and high-tech company that is a defendant. So you can imagine that once you have those things tagged up, you could say, okay, now how do I communicate between clients and law firms and vendors? And one big problem that has historically happened is lots of people are tagging up things like, say, banking law, but they're using different identifiers, different words to be able to identify banking law. So if the client says, hey, firm, send me all of the banking law matters that you have. Here's the UUID. Here's the identifier for that. And of course, firms are using a separate identifier that they send to vendors. And then of course, vendors are using a third type of identifier for banking law that then has to be communicated back to clients. So you can imagine that trying to make APIs to communicate data amongst the three is a real headache today. SALI is solving that problem by saying, if you are using the SALI compliant API, you use the identifier, the SALI identifier for bank. And then we can transfer data amongst the three of us
because all of us are using the same identifier. And of course, there's not just one vendor, but there are many vendors, all of whom need to speak to each other. So in this way, if all the vendors are using the same identifier for bank, then they can communicate more seamlessly. And the items we're collecting will be able to help both with the substantive law, being able to win or lose cases or get the deal done, as well as through the business of law. How much is this going to cost? And how do we reduce those costs? And here we have SALI's LMSS as displayed in Web Protege, which is a Stanford tool to be able to create ontologies. So here you can see that we have areas of law and the services I provide for those areas of law for the industries where I have clients. Of course, each of these has many subtypes and subtypes to be able to go through and be able to demonstrate the various industries and the various services that can be provided, whether that be litigation or advice or transactional work or regulatory work or bankruptcy work. In addition, we have a very deep roster of causes of action on the litigation side. And you might be able to say, okay, negligent misrepresentation is something that if I say something false about you, that could be a negligence claim. Lawyer number 2 might say, well, it's true, but it's also a misrepresentation claim. And that's correct. Lawyer number 3 said, those are both correct, but it's also a defamation claim. And that would be correct too. So within Web Protege, we accommodate all 3 of those lawyers. It is a negligence claim and a defamation claim and a misrepresentation claim, which, by the way, these are both tort claims. So you can see this is a very complex but logical web of how these things all fit together. We barely scratched the surface. Would you like to help shape the legal data standard? Contact us at SALI.org.